Hello and welcome to the garden. Just a very quick video today. I'm just here to take a little harvest of some brassicas, and I've got a bit of a bonus crop, somewhat unexpected. So pretty late last year I made a final sowing of the brassicas, and it was especially late because my first attempt at these got wiped out by some caterpillars. They really messed up the seedlings, so I had to make a second sowing, and yeah, these went in the ground pretty late. So I think they've done okay, but some of these I didn't really expect to get a crop from now, or perhaps even any crop. So I've got calabrese here. This was not supposed to be cropping now. I've got some purple sprouting that will start to crop in a few weeks' time probably. But I've got some calabrese that we took a harvest from it last year. We took the main head out, and then we took the flush of smaller shoots. All of that's gone. What I didn't do was pull the plants out. Mostly laziness, to be honest, but it appeared as though they'd stopped cropping, and in the recent mild weather they've given us another crop. Quite a few little spears there, so I'm going to cut a load of those. And I've also got some collies. Now, I did put a couple of cauliflowers in here. The plants were tiny, they didn't really get established. The soil in this bed is rock hard and they didn't really like it here. Not sure why, but it might have been just a little bit too late in the year as well, and nothing came of them. But again, with the recent mild conditions, they've just produced a few small little heads. They are only small, but they're perfectly good to eat. So you can see these plants, really, there's not a lot to these, but they have formed these nice little heads in there. And these are definitely due to be harvested. Now at the moment those curds are all nice and white in here, but if they get exposed to too much light, they tend to turn a bit yellow. So it's always a good idea to give them a little bit of protection. So on this one has the best head. I've just lifted up these leaves around the curds and I've tied a bit of string around there. You can use an elastic band, whatever you've got to hand. Just keeps the light off of the curds there and stops them turning yellow. But these are nice and white at the moment, and I'm going to cut those because they are ready. It's these plants here that have surprised me a bit. You can see where we've taken the main head and then we cut all of the subsequent spears, and the plant is looking a bit ratty in places. Nonetheless, it's producing a fine old crop here, and I mean, these are just beautifully tender. You can feel it, and when you slice the knife through it, it's like cutting through butter. These are going to be very good. I'm not that keen on the broccoli, but my wife loves it, and this is particularly tasty, this one. It's an Italian variety. It's called ramoso, which means branched. Well, you can see where it gets its name. I think the main heads are a little on the small side, but you do get a generous crop of the side shoots. Now, lots of the Italian varieties are actually a bit more hardy than you might imagine, depending which part of Italy they come from, of course. I mean, there's just tons of these. I'm not going to need all of these today. I shall leave these plants in for a while. I'd be surprised if they didn't give us yet another flush. That's a bit old and rubbish. Take that off. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So that's not a bad little harvest there. And there are plenty more shoots on the remaining plants, so a few more meals to take off of those yet. So they've actually been really productive because I thought we'd already taken everything we were going to get from those. Sometimes my laziness is a bit of a benefit, and there's another place where I'm getting some bonus leaves too. So here I've got a very ratty looking kale plant. It's leaning over, it's almost on the ground now. The old leaves at the top, well, they are dreadful. This actually flowered earlier in the year. I've cut the flowers off the top. The plant itself is horrible, but all along the edge we're getting these lovely new shoots. And these small leaves, they're wonderful, they're very tender. I can use those. And well, yeah, I mean, I was supposed to clear these plants out and get rid of them, but I'm getting this bonus crop here. I do have some replacement kale plants, but those are really nice. So that was a bit of a bonus harvest from plants that, again, I'd intended to take out earlier. This time though, it's the Tuscan kale, and well, these have been cropping since probably the middle of summer. I start these early and they grow right through the year. It's a really interesting plant, this one. I mean, you think of kales in particular as winter veg, but we grow them here for more or less year-round consumption, and they will keep going for a year or so. I mean, those other plants, some of them had already flowered, but I've cut those off, and they're now producing new growth. And these are just, well, these are just going on and on. I mean, they will go over in the spring as conditions warm up, but I've got some younger plants, more of the dwarf curled kale, that will replace it. And of course I will get an early sowing of these in. I mean, these are rock hard through the winter, but they'll also sit quite happily in really hot conditions. I mean, you can see these in Tuscan gardens where in the middle of summer they're being absolutely baked. They don't seem to care, and then they'll go right through the winter. Obviously they're not growing huge amounts right now, but we've had this warmish spell and that's put on all this new growth up the top. So yeah, these are doing very well. So I'm going to take a few leaves of this stuff. This is delicious. It's at this time of year in particular, I mean, I think it does probably benefit from the cold weather in terms of the flavour of the kale, but in any event, this is some pretty tasty stuff. I've got a little bit of slug damage, but it's not too bad. The younger stuff at the top looks pretty good, so I'm quite happy with that. I don't need too much today. It's probably enough actually. So there we go. It's a pretty healthy harvest, and at least 3 of those were unexpected bonuses, and you don't get many of those at this time of year. Anyway, that is all for this little harvest video. Thanks ever so much for watching, and bye for now.